one group whose entire job is protecting these players just refused to say the biggest star in the sport shouldn't be grabbed by the throat. A reporter asked the Players Union a simple question this week, whether putting a hand on a player's neck should be punished. And the WNBPA, Caitlin Clark's own union, answered with 5 words. The WNBPA respectfully declines comment. That's the whole statement, and not one of those 5 words was her name. Now, you have to understand what the WNBPA actually is, because the silence only lands once you do. This isn't the league office, and it isn't the referees. This is the players' own union, the body whose entire reason to exist is the health, the safety, and the well-being of the women on the floor. The WNBPA fought an 8-year battle for a new labor deal. It won upgraded travel, so its players stopped flying commercial into back-to-backs. Paid maternity and fertility benefits, also the union's win. Protecting players isn't a side project for this organization. It's the whole job. And the woman who runs it is Terri Carmichael Jackson, the executive director, the person who speaks for the union, the one whose name sits on its decisions. And the question itself wasn't some ambush. It was the most basic thing you could possibly ask a players' union. Not who's to blame, not how many games, just, is putting a hand on a player's neck the kind of thing this sport should punish? That's a yes or no a middle schooler could answer. So, when a reporter walked up and asked whether a hand to a player's throat should carry a consequence, that question landed on the one desk in the entire sport that's supposed to care about it the most. And the answer came back in 5 words. Comment respectfully declined. Here's the part that makes the silence so loud. And I want to be fair about this, because there's a version of this where the union did nothing wrong. Let's give the union its strongest defense first. The question the reporter asked was a leading one. It was built to get a headline. And a union, legally, isn't a discipline office. Handing out suspensions and fines, that's the league's job, not the union's. Even more than that, a players' union represents every player. It represents Caitlin Clark, and it also represents the player who hit her. That's not a loophole. That's literally what a union is. It's called the duty of fair representation, and it means the WNBPA can't go on camera and demand one of its own members get punished. So if you're sitting there thinking, no comment was actually the smart, careful answer to a loaded question, you're not wrong. On the narrow legal point, you're right. But here's where careful turns into cold. Nobody asked the union to convict anybody. Nobody asked it to call for a suspension. The union could have said 7 words back. Player safety matters to us. Full stop. That sentence takes no side. It doesn't name a villain. It doesn't demand a punishment. It's the single least controversial thing a players' union could possibly say, that the players, all of them, deserve to be safe on the floor. And it wouldn't even say that. That's the betrayal. Not that the union failed to play judge. It's that the body built to protect these women wouldn't spend one breath affirming that its most valuable, most visible player deserves to be protected at all. It had a free, easy, true thing to say, and it chose silence over its own biggest draw. Think about how low that bar actually is. The union didn't have to weigh in on the play. It didn't have to second-guess the referees or relitigate the foul. All it had to do was repeat the one principle it's put at the center of every contract fight it has ever had, that the women in this league deserve to be safe at work. The union says that in negotiations. It says it in press releases. Whole marketing campaigns get built around it. And the one time saying it out loud would have cost the union nothing and meant everything. It went silent. And if this were a one-day thing, a single awkward no comment on a single bad afternoon, you could let it go. People decline questions every day. But this union has a history when it comes to the press. Go back to the 2024 playoffs. A veteran reporter, Christine Brennan, asked a Fever opponent a pointed question about a play that had poked Clark in the eye. And the WNBPA didn't shrug that off. The union moved to pull Brennan's press credential and put out a statement calling her work unprofessional and indecent. She kept her credential in the end. But sit with what happened there. When a reporter pressed on the subject of a hit involving Clark, this union had plenty to say. It had the energy to go after the messenger. Now that same reporter asks whether a hand to the throat should be punished, and suddenly, the union that had so much to say about her last time has nothing to say at all. And notice the difference in temperature. Going after a reporter's credential takes effort. It takes a meeting, a drafted statement, a decision to escalate. The union found the will to do all of that over a question it didn't like. But answering one question about a player's throat? That apparently asked too much. That's the pattern. When the story is about controlling who gets to ask the questions, the WNBPA speaks up fast. When the story is whether its biggest star should be safe, it declines comment. The union has never had trouble finding its voice. It just keeps finding it for the wrong thing. And here's the contrast that should bother every fan watching this. Everybody else managed to act. The league, the same league people love to criticize for going soft on Clark, actually moved. It reviewed the hit, upgraded it to a flagrant, and suspended the player who delivered it for a game. There was a fine on top of that. The league's own ruling pointed to contact up around the throat area. You can argue the league didn't go far enough. What you can't argue is that it stayed silent. It looked at the play and it acted. Read that timeline back, because it's the whole story in miniature. A player went down. The league reviewed it, decided the contact crossed a line, and handed down real discipline. A suspension served, and a fine paid. The institution people accuse of protecting nobody actually protected somebody. Then look who else spoke up. A United States Senator, Chuck Grassley, went on the record about how Clark is being treated. Dick Vitale, a broadcasting icon, said his piece. People with no professional obligation whatsoever to Caitlin Clark found the words. A senator found the words. A retired broadcaster found the words. The league found a suspension. The only group in this entire story that went mute, the only one, was the union that exists for the express purpose of protecting these women. Everyone whose job it wasn't said something. The one body whose job it was said nothing. Now the comment sections want to turn this into something it isn't. People want to make the silence about culture wars, about identity, about which side of some online fight the union is supposedly on. Set all of that aside. It's noise and it's wrong. This isn't complicated and it isn't political. It's a labor organization that had one easy sentence to say about its most important members' safety, and it wouldn't say it. And to understand why that stings, you have to remember what this union was supposed to be. The WNBPA spent years selling its players and selling the public on the idea that it exists to fight for them. Every press release, every CBA milestone, every "We protect our players" line in the marketing. That's the brand it built. A union earns its standing by being the loudest voice in the room when one of its own gets hurt. That's the entire deal. The players give up a slice of their bargaining power, and in return the union promises that when it matters, it shows up. And let's be clear about what this is and isn't about. It isn't about wins. The weekend Clark sat out with the back injury, the Fever went out and beat the Los Angeles Sparks anyway, 111-87. Indiana didn't need her on the floor to win that night, so nobody can wave this away as sour grapes from a struggling team. Indiana's fine. The point was never the scoreboard. It's that a player got hurt on a hit the league itself punished, and the people sworn to protect her looked the other way. This was the moment it was built for. Its biggest star, its national meal ticket, the woman selling out arenas and pulling in record fan votes, taken down on a hit serious enough that the league suspended somebody for it. If the union won't raise its voice for her, who exactly is it raising its voice for? And the clock doesn't stop while it figures that out. Clark is expected back on the floor this weekend, after the league break. The All-Star spotlight is coming right behind it, the brightest stretch of the season, the window where the whole sport leans on her to carry the audience. The union is going to keep cashing in on Caitlin Clark all summer. It just won't spend 5 words to stand up for her. So here's the question I keep landing on. If the one group whose entire job is protecting these players won't even say out loud that its biggest star deserves to be safe, then what exactly is that union for? Tell me in the comments. Because somebody should be asking. And right now, the people who should be asking the loudest are the ones who've gone quiet.